What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, and today I'm very excited to check out Moop's Monster Mashup, a Munchkin game from Steve Jackson Games. This is for 3 to 6 players, ages 10 plus. It'll take about 1 to 2 hours to play. And in Moop's Monster Mashup, a Munchkin game, this is a standalone / expansion for the popular Munchkin universe. You're going to be able to add this to any other deck of Munchkin and play with more cards. This one's going to add a boatload of puns and a lot of humor here and there, but is it worth getting? Where do I rank it amongst the other Munchkins? Let's open it up and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Moop's Monster Mashup, a Munchkin expansion. So before we get started, I do want to mention this is a standalone / expansion to Munchkin, so you can buy this as your first version of Munchkin and just play it out of the box, or you can add it to any other version of Munchkin, which is always a good thing. So first and foremost, we're going to handy dandy rule booklet. It's really about 3 pages, double-sided, and this is like their 30th edition of Munchkin, so needless to say, it's very well done and should have you up and running in no time at all. They've been fine-tuning it. So, in Moop's Monster Mashup Munchkin, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be trying to be the first person to get to level 10. You're going to get to level 10 by fighting monsters, by playing cards that will allow you to level up. Let's see if I got one of those. Yeah, I'll see if I can find one for you. But there'll be plenty of cards that will allow you to level up, so go up a level. And also you'll be able to sell some of your goods. So every time you sell 1,000 worth of gold pieces, you will go up 1 level. In order to win the game, though, you are going to have to beat a monster. So once you get to level 9, the only way you can win 99.99% of the time, and I don't actually think it's in this version of Munchkin, is by defeating a monster. Now, defeating a monster is sometimes easy and sometimes difficult. It really depends on a lot of various different things. So let's take a look. So for instance, this is a level 10 monster. That would mean that you would have to have at least that much. However, most of them have modifications. So this one's +3 against dwarves. So this would be 13 if you happen to be a dwarf. Also, other players will be playing modifications potentially onto the monsters. So they might say, use during any combat, +3 to either side, usable only once. So that could make you more strong, or that could make the monster more strong. It will depend on who plays it. Also along the way, you're going to be acquiring these. And we'll go over what you're going to do in a second, but I just want to go over all the different cards. These are halflings and elves. So these are race and class cards that will give you bonus modifiers. So for instance, let's take a look at the warrior. You may discard up to 3 cards in combat. Each one gives you a +1 bonus. So you want to have a lot of cards in your hand because you will be able to fight better. Also, you win ties in combat, so instead of having to have 11 to defeat a 10 monster, you'd only have to have 10. But you can have 1 race and 1 class going, unless, of course, you play some modification cards. Some other cards you're going to encounter in the deck. Let's go over them. We already talked about our monsters, and let's just go over what's on this monster card. It's a level 12. You got some humorous pictures and whatnot. He's not only monstrous, he's rude +3 against females, because you do need to declare your sex in this game. And down here we have the bad stuff. So if you lose in combat to this guy, and you can't run away successfully, play dead. The other players get to pick from your cards as though you were dead. You keep the leftovers. So you're going to lose all your cards. So that's not the end of the world. It's not great, but it's not the end of the world. However, if you were able to defeat this monster, you're going to gain 3 treasure and you will go up 1 level, which is great. Now, another interesting aspect of this game is you can have other people team up to help you. One other person can team up to help you to try and beat that level 12. There's also curses along the way. This one is lose an item. Choose 1 item to discard. So that one's not actually too terrible, but some will make you go down a level. They'll do various different things. Most of them are really bad. So let's just see. Let's go ahead and show you exactly how a mock hand would go. So on your turn, first thing you're going to do is you are going to, well, you're going to look and see if there's any cards you can play down in front of you. Because right here, not usable by halving, but this is going to give us a +4 bonus. It takes up both of our hands, but now, since we're level 1, we would have 1 fighting skill. We play this down, we now have 5 fighting skill, so that's not a bad start right there. We have a level 8, which we can't play right now. We have a dwarf. You can carry any number of big items. You can have 6 cards in your hand, so that one's pretty useful, so we'll play that one down in front of us. So that's another modification. This is +3 to either side. We could have a race and a class, so we could also play this wizard. You may discard up to 3 cards after rolling the dice to run away. Each one gives you a +1 bonus to flee, because when you can't defeat a monster, you have to try and run away. So that's pretty useful. So that's not a bad starting hand. Also, charm spell. You may discard your whole hand, minimum 3 cards, to charm a single monster instead of fighting it. Discard the monster and take its treasure, but don't gain levels. Ooh, that's one's pretty good. So we'll start off with that. And now we are going to do the first step, which is to kick open the door. So we look at this. We have 2 kinds of cards. We have treasure cards. We have door cards. Kick open the door, flip it up, and bada boom, we are facing a level 6 cattle snake. Yeah, I love that. +3 against warriors, -2 against elves. Yes, these stack. So right now it's still level 6 because we're not a warrior, we're not an elf, and currently we have 5, which means we might need to call on the assistance from one of our friends or one of our enemies potentially, or, oh, actually, we could have played this. Oh, yeah, we still can. So, Shiny Heiny, this is a +3. Yeah, we'll just play this, which means now we're up to 3, 7 plus our 1 level, which means we have an 8, which means we have successfully defeated the cattle snake. So now you'd say, does anyone else want to modify the cattle snake, calling 1, 2, 3? And someone could potentially play a card on it, but most of the time early in the game, they will not. So we have successfully defeated the cattle snake, which means we will gain 1 level, and we would need like a D6, a D10 to keep track of your points. And then you also, so you go up to level 2, you're also going to gain 2 treasure cards in your hand. Hooray for us. Now these cards are secretive. So we would have the bee sting ring and kill it with fire. So this will allow us to go up a level. Anywho, that would be the end of our turn, and we would move on. We'd make sure we don't have more than 6 cards in our hand, which it's fine since we have our dwarf. So actually we could hold up to 6 instead of the normal limit. And then it would be the next person's turn. So what happens for the next person? Let's just pretend they flip over something that is not a monster. Let's just say they flip over this warrior class card. Well, that's good news for them. They get to keep this, and now they have another option. They can either look for trouble or loot the room. So if you loot the room, you get the top card off the deck, and that's good for you. You just get another card. It might be something good. It might be something bad. So look there. It's a wizard. Now, if you look for trouble, you're going to be able to play one of the monsters out of your hand that you think you can successfully beat. So for instance, right now, we would have 9. So 3, 7, plus 1, 2 for our level. We might play this Vuvu Zebra. Your headgear counts double against the Vuvu Zebra. Unfortunately, we do not have headgear, but still, we can defeat this guy. And then you would rinse, wash, and repeat until someone gets to level 10. Now, once you get progressively closer to level 10, what's going to happen is everyone's generally going to be trying to team up on the person who has 8, 9 points, and that's just the nature of the game, but I'll talk more about that in pros and cons. Anywho, you'll continue to play until someone gets to 10, at which point they will be the winner of Moop's Monster Mashup, a Munchkin game. And that in a nutshell is how the game is played. Alrighty then, Moop's Monster Mashup, a Munchkin game from Steve Jackson Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros. Let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, you know, this is still more Munchkin. If you do not like Munchkin, if you've never liked Munchkin, this is not going to change your mind. In fact, that's one of the cons that I have with this game, is that it doesn't feel that different from just vanilla Munchkin, which I thought was unfortunate. Like, because one of my favorite aspects of each Munchkin, and why I like getting a lot of the expansions, is because you'll get different races and different classes that'll do different things, and they'll start to, like, mix together when you combine all the Munchkins, they'll do cool stuff. And this one didn't have any new ones as far as I could tell. I might be wrong on that one, but I'm pretty sure it was like Dwarf, Wizard, Thief, like your very typical ones that you see in vanilla version of Munchkin, which I thought was unfortunate, and that was a little bit of a letdown for me. Any other cons I have with the game? You know, it's Munchkin, which means you have your typical Munchkin problems. You're going to have a pummel the leader problem, so as soon as you start getting really close to winning the game, everybody's going to attack you, which is going to be a turn off to some people. The game can drag out longer than you want to. And if you don't like puns, this is definitely not the Munchkin for you. Because moving on to the pros, Moop's Monster Mashup, a Munchkin game. Aside from the fact it doesn't provide any new races or classes, which is something I love, exploring in each new Munchkin, is one of my favorite ones for the artwork and for the humor. The humor really hits hard for me with this game. I love all the puns. I love all the tongue-in-cheek stuff. And I remember I was interviewing Hunter about this game at Gen Con, and he was like, and I pretty much like, so is this like dad joke version of Munchkin? And he's like, yes, this is dad joke version of Munchkin. And if you know me, you know I love dad jokes. So this one definitely scratches that itch. The artwork is done by somebody different, which normally is somewhat of a turnoff for me, but I actually enjoy the artwork in the game. I love the sense of humor. The only thing that I really dislike about this game is the fact that there's no new races or classes. But with that being said, this is still one of my favorite versions of Munchkin. I always like to try and rank the different versions of Munchkins, which ones I like the best. Marvel Munchkin is still one of my favorites. Steampunk Munchkin, surprisingly, I really like, despite the fact I hate steampunk. And then this one is definitely, I put this one probably in third, behind maybe Marvel and steampunk. You know, if it had different races and classes, this one would probably shoot to the top. But as it is, I love the humor in this game. I love the tongue-in-cheek nature of the game, and I love all the puns in the game. Moop's Monster Mashup, a Munchkin game. If you don't have the original Munchkin, this is a fantastic one to add. If you like the original Munchkin, this is a much harder sell, I do think, unless you absolutely adore puns. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know! Munchkin! What's your favorite version of it? If you like it. If you don't like it, well then I don't know why you stuck around this long. But let me know in the comments below. What's your favorite version of Munchkin? For me personally, it is probably still Steampunk Munchkin, I think, or Marvel Munchkin. It's pretty close. I actually just played Marvel Munchkin last weekend, and it might be my number one. But let me know in the comments below, and as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.